Alright, today we're going to make a bit of a teapot. I'm just going to throw the teapot itself, and then I'll throw the lid and the spout. And yeah, should be fun. Alright. So, teapots are fun. It's like usually first introduction to like throwing a bunch of pieces and then putting them together, like being assembled. Besides a mug, which just has a handle, teapot has a handle and a spout and a lid. And yeah, you need some time to throw all three of them and then let them set up a bit and then assemble it all together. So it's a lot of fun. Anyway, let's get started. I've got a 3-pound chunk of clay here. This is the last of my clay from my last big order, and it's kind of dried out a little bit, so it's going to be hard to center, but should be easier to get thin since it won't flop. It won't be as likely to flop. So yeah, I'm just centering, going up. I don't know, 3 pounds might be too much, but we'll see. We'll be able to make a teapot out of it. It'll hold enough tea for a couple of people at least. All centered up here. So go ahead and open it. This clay is usually really soft and easy to throw with. So it was a bit of a surprise to me when I opened my last box, and it was pretty hard. Like even wedging it, it was drying out and cracking, so we'll see if we can't make something with it though. And then teapots are, at least in my case, going to be trimmed, so leaving a little bit of room down there in the bottom. Get my needle tool here and measure about 1/4 inch. So once I color in, that'll get a little bit thicker. Alright. Just coloring in. Do a full here. Just compress the rim. Let's do another pull. going to keep the top, or we're going to keep the, going to try to keep the rim in the middle here closed up a bit, since we're going to be closing it for a lid anyway. You don't want to have to try to collar that in when it's thin. Otherwise you might run into some wobbles. And then I'm leaving thickness up here at the top so that I can put in a gallery. Only one more pull. Still got a little bit of bulk down here in the bottom. A little bit in there, a wobble. Should be fine when we compress it. Go ahead and start shaping it. So the teapot itself is just basically like a lidded jar. Nothing special there. I'm going to go ahead and trim the bottom. So yeah, you know, just throw a lidded jar, kind of a whatever shape you want. You don't have to make a traditional rounded teapot shape. That's kind of what I'm going to be doing here, but definitely not a requirement. I've seen plenty of crazy looking teapots out there. If your idea is functionality, then don't get too crazy. You still want it to be useful. So like, don't do ones that look pretty cool, or like the, what are those called? Where you throw a ring. It's like basically a closed loop. Toroid, I think, is the name. So like a toroid shaped teapot is completely unfunctional. As soon as you pour hot water in it, it's going to cool down because the surface area that's touching the clay is huge. So as soon as you pour it in, it's going to cool almost immediately. So not a great form for a teapot, but it looks cool. I understand. Just not entirely useful. Alright, so I'm going to widen it out just a little bit more. And then things to keep in mind are where you're going to put your spout and how you're going to attach it. I'll go over that once I get these thrown, and then go to attach the all the pieces. But it is something you want to keep in mind when you're throwing your parts, is what shape you're going to have the, because you want to match. You want all your pieces to match. You want it to look like it belongs. You don't want to throw like a bulbous teapot like this and then put a really straight spout on it. I think this looks pretty good. I'm just going to try to get a little bit more on the shoulder here. Get it popped out a little bit more so it's more rotund. Alright, that should do it. Go ahead and remove the slip from the inside. That's about all there was. Just sponge off the wall. Okay, now for the lid here, we're just going to put a gallery, and then we're going to gallery the lid as well so that it sits in there really nice. So yeah, for the gallery, I just support with my outer hand and then push down with my fingers on the inside. Kind of create a lip on the inside there. And then for ones that I'm going to be doing an inner gallery too, let's see, grab a rib with a straight edge to it, and then just press it down in there so that there's a squared off gallery. Chamois the gallery and the rim. Make sure it's nice and smooth and even. Take it on the inside too. Just remove the rest of the slip with the Alright, so there's the teapot form. So it's going to hold most of the fluid in the bottom. We're going to put our spout here, coming from the bottom, because when you pour, you want the spout to fill with water, so you can pour the entire contents out. You don't want a spout like up here, where you have to basically turn the whole entire teapot upside down just to get any water out of it. Alright, so we'll do the lid next. For the lid, I just have a little 1 pound ball of clay that I wedged up. And so for the lid, we're going to go with a bowl, like a kind of like how I do my lidded jars. But first we're gonna take our measurement here with our calipers. Okay, so should be right where I usually put my lids. Yep. Make sure the tips of your calipers are clean, otherwise you're not gonna get a nice accurate reading. Alright. A little bit wider. Not that wide. Alright, perfect. So that's the width we need. And then when we put the gallery in, we're going to do a 1/4 inch on each side. And that should slip right down in there. Okay. So for the lid, worse than centering 1 pound of clay for me is centering 1 pound of stiff clay. It's hard to get my fingers around 1 pound of clay. But anyway, we'll just center, and then I'm going to undercut it a bit into a mushroom shape because I'm throwing it upside down, so the handle's going to be carved out of the base there. So just open it up. Don't go too deep because you need that room for the handle on the lid. Some room to carve it. And we'll just open it into a bowl. Leaving some bulk there at the top, just so we can put our, because we are doing gallery on this lid. And we're just going to kind of get it to close to where the calipers will be, because I don't want to overshoot it. Okay, so let's come out a little bit. Should be good there. Yep. So for this gallery, you're going to do the opposite of the Teapot gallery. So instead of setting the gallery on the inside, we're going to do it on the outside here. I'm just going to go ahead and use my straight edge now. Let's see. Make sure it's still a little bit more. Just a wee bit more. Sometimes when compressing that gallery in, you lose a little bit of width. Okay, a little tiny bit more. And we're going to use our metal rib for that. So we can start. Actually, I'm going to trim this down, do ourselves a favor, and get, since we're going to be trimming all this away anyway. Okay. I'm just going to bring it out. Perfect. Alright, so we'll chamois this. So first I chamois the inset part just because it's thinner, and if I screw it up I can fix it. Just chamois the gallery part. Alright, and that's the lid. It'll be a little bit more inset. You can kind of see here. Just going to sit right in there. Okay, now we need to throw the spout. This is under a pound. I don't know, just 3/4 of a pound. It's just a chunk I had left over from measuring the other two pieces, so definitely won't be using it all. But kind of show you, it's really hard to throw with anything under a pound unless you're throwing off the hump, and then you've got that whole big chunk centered. But when you're not throwing off the hump, not only is it hard to center under a pound, it's also hard to throw with it. So this 3/4 of a pound, usually I wouldn't do this, but like I said, it was just the stuff that was left over when I was measuring out this bag of clay. Okay, so now that we're centered, it's going to be basically a tall cylinder that comes into a skinny neck, kind of like a bottle shape. And then you can go all the way through to the bottom if you want. I usually don't. Might be a little bit more stable if you don't. Just open it up. Do a quick pull there, and then be pulling up and in towards the middle. And again, we're not going to be able to reach in here, so it's important to get this bottom part as thin as you need it. I try to match the thickness of the pot itself, so that when it dries, after being attached, it's not going to pull too much on the body of the teapot. So then you just start collaring in, and I use a 6-point on something small like this. And just slowly pull it up. And pretty thin here, so the walls are pretty thin. I'm going to cut this top part off, just so we definitely don't need it. And it's heavy, so get that off. You can see how thin it is here. Alright, so we'll just continue to collar in. And since the form of the pot is bulbous, I'm making a bulbous spout here. I wouldn't worry too much about having water down in here, because we're going to be cutting it off the bottom anyway. Don't have to worry about cracks, so it will slow the drying down, but you're probably going to cut it off before it gets too dry anyway. So just continue slowly collaring it in. It will thicken up the walls, so you might need to jam a chopstick in there to help compress while you pull. As it gets thicker and thicker, you're going to want to thin it out, and it'll get to the point where putting a finger in there won't be a viable option. that's a nice bulbous form. I'm going to go ahead and start moving the slip. What I try to do is, when I'm throwing the spout, I try to make it the same height as or similar in height to the teapot itself, since you're going to want the tip of the spout to meet up with the top of the teapot, so you're not, when you fill up your teapot, you're not losing a bunch of water all over the ground. That could be a real bummer if you were set on making some tea. Alright, I'm just going to chop this off just where it starts flaring out. And then we'll just touch this up here. Slip removal here. And there we go, there's our spout. And I will come back in a few hours, hopefully. It's not too humid today, it's nice and sunny, so should be able to film the rest of this tonight. Yeah, we'll just come back in a little bit when these are dry. I will show you. Well, first, might as well put some bend into this. So for that, you can use a chopstick or, you know, pretty much anything. The end of your, or the handle of your needle tool. That's a good thing for this too. I just put the chopstick in. An angle, and then I'm going to hold this, and we're just going to bend it, and pull this out while we bend it. Just kind of bring it back into a circular shape, because the tea is actually going to pour out this side. So we can go back and do one of these. Alright. We'll touch that up once it's dried up a bit, but there you go. You can see it's kind of wonky to the side there. I think that'll be good. That'll be good. Alright, I will come back and we will finish it. Alright, it's not quite firmed up yet. It's been outside all day, and I think it's probably close enough. So, let's see. There's a few things we need when you make a teapot and you're attaching the stuff there. Let's see. I got this old kit here I got for Christmas one year. It's got a couple of hole punchers in it. This one will do. Alright, so you need a hole puncher, you can use a drill bit, your spout, Just pop that off of there. And then your teapot. And then probably going to put a handle on it too. I just pulled it about 10 minutes ago, so kind of waiting for that to firm up, but running out of daylight. Alright, you're also going to need something sharp. I've got like an old crusty X-Acto blade, but it's still pretty sharp. Anyway, okay, so when you're thinking about this, okay, you want to put the placement of your spout where it makes the most sense. So in order to be able to get fluid out of the bottom, you're going to want it closer to the bottom than the top, the base of the spout, and then you don't want the spout lower than the rim. If you do, then tea's just going to pour out. So you're going to put it on the side here, and then just kind of judge where if you don't have a good spatial awareness, then you can just kind of start by cutting the bottom off and then putting it against the teapot here, and then you can kind of shave stuff away from the spout until it's good. If you do have good spatial awareness, you should be able to get pretty close right off the bat. So I'm thinking something like that. So I'm just carving the inside here so that there's more of a, since the teapot is round, it's not gonna take a flat cut like that very easily. So just kind of eyeball it, get it so that there's like a minimal gap around the edges here. And then once you find a spot that you want to put it, you need to line up your spout there, and then you're going to mark on your teapot by tracing around the spout. So I'm just tracing around the spout with my X-Acto knife here. Set the spout aside. And so this is where you're going to score and slip, but this whole section is also where you're going to put the holes. So I'm just going to start putting some holes. I usually go from the bottom and work my way up. The bottom holes are the most important. That's how the fluid is going to get in to your spout. And as you can see, this pattern of holes is not going to be seen once you get the spout connected. So I don't know, if you want to spend a lot of time making like a perfect pattern, you can. I'm of the mind of just make it functional. The part that you need to worry about looking good is the outside, in my opinion. So take that as you will. You can spend as much or as little time as you want. Just make sure the holes are clear when you put them in. So this kind of pushes a little plug out the other side, so I'm just holding on the other side here and catching the plug as it comes out. See, little chunk. But just go ahead and kind of stamp some holes in it. You're going to want to leave about a 1/4 inch. See the thickness of the spout here. You want to leave that around the edge so that you're not connecting your spout on a hole. It'll just block the hole and it's just wasted effort. The idea is that when you're pouring, you want basically a large amount of liquid to enter the spout body here, and as it compresses, or as it acts like a funnel, you know, and as it goes, it accelerates as it goes through this little opening, and that's what allows for a good pour. And then the other part of a good pour is the no drip spout, and those can be hard. I still struggle with some drippage once in a while, but for the most part, there are some things that you can do to address that, and I'll go over those in a minute. Okay, so I got my holes. You can, if you're interested, it makes it easier to clean the teapot. So it's not necessary, but if you're worried about cleaning, you can just on the inside just use a metal rib and just kind of scrape where the holes are. It'll smooth out the hole areas, and then you can just go back through the holes, and it'll eliminate the burrs that are inside. Just make sure all your holes are clear. Alright. There's a blocked one. You go through all the effort of putting these holes in, make sure they're not blocked. You want to be able to fill this spout with water, pretty immediately. You don't want to sit there and wait for this to fill with water while you're pouring, because then it'll glug. You don't want that. It doesn't make for a great pour when it's chugging all over the place. Alright. This should be good. If you go too crazy, this area will get weak, and you'll run into problems when it's firing. Alright, so once you got all your holes punched in there, just score around the edge here. As you can tell, this is still, it's just now getting to leather soft, so it's still pretty soft. It hasn't popped off the bat yet. Normally I would wait till it's a little bit, like just until it pops off the bat, but since it's just a spout and handle, they won't get in the way of trimming, so it's not a big deal. So once that is all scored, go ahead and score the spout part. This is real boring, I know, sorry. You just want to get some surface area there for the attachment. And then I'm going to use magic water. I won't need slip because it's still pretty, the pieces are pretty moist still. So let me grab that. And I just put it in my slip bowl here. Okay. Just magic water is a mixture of water, sodium silicate, and soda ash, and it's a mild flux, and it's also a deflocculant, so it helps the pieces stick together because it turns the clay that you painted on, it turns it more liquidy, so that when you join your pieces they stick together better. Okay, so it'll just support from the inside and just go back and forth and squeeze it on. You can see the slip the magic water made squeezing out the sides here. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and do that, and then use the pointy end of my chopstick here, and I'm just it's gonna be hard to do for the camera, but I'm just kind of roll pressing it while supporting from the inside. So you just hold on the inside and kind of roll the opposite way that you're moving, so it rolls a little bead up into that joint. I know it doesn't look great right now, but we will go over it with a sponge after. And I just will do that all the way around. And this is just ensuring a good joint. Smooth that in. Okay. I don't have an elephant ear sponge around. That's my favorite one for doing this, but just use our throwing sponge, and I'm still compressing while smoothing here. Okay, looking good. All right, and this dried out a bit. The spout did, but usually what I will do, see if it's moist enough. I might have to carve it, but kind of flatten it out here so that the top of the spout is more even with the bottom of the spout where the water comes out. And then with this part here, I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife and sharpen up that edge there. Make it look nice. Clean it up with a sponge. And then that sharp lip. See that sharp lip right there? That's going to chop the water off when you stop pouring, so you can pour, and then when you lift it up, it'll chop that drip off right there. And so that is attaching a spout, getting it just right. Okay, and then what I will do now is I'll cut this off and I will put the handle on. The lid is not ready to trim, so I will add that afterwards with some movie magic. I'll just cut this off if I can get this wrapped around my finger. Alright. Like I said, I'll trim the bottom later, but I want to put the handle on now. So I pulled this handle earlier. It's just a bolt handle, nothing special. Okay. With handles, you don't want the connection point to be too thick because it will pull the rim of your, or pull the, where it's connected, it'll pull that part of the pot out when it's fired, just because it has to shrink in the kiln, and when it does, it shrinks more since it's thicker, which means it will pull on whatever it's attached to. So I'm just kind of thinning this out here so that it's a wide connection point, but it's thin. And go between each hand so I can get that connection point kind of even looking. Alright, so that's the handle connection point, and then just line it up with the spout. If you're going to do an overhead handle, then you would put kind of like a loop right here and a loop up here in the front, and then you have a bamboo handle that you buy at the store. So let's see, I think I'll put this here. Go ahead and flatten this out just a little bit more because of the angle here. I'm actually going to cut this off. It's still just a little bit too thick here. There we go. Just mushrooming it out. So we'll line it up with the spout. mark on here where we're going to score it. We'll set this down over here. So yeah, I'm just going to score this up. Put our magic water on there. If you don't have magic water, no big deal, just use slip. Okay, grab the handle. Score this bad boy. Some slip on it. Now, wiggle it on. So supporting on the inside and just holding the handle and giving it a jiggle, it'll start suctioning on there, and then we'll just give it some help by compressing it. And once it's had a second to kind of attach itself, make any adjustments you need to. So that it's straight. Make sure you leave yourself some room to adjust the handle out there. And you look at it straight on. Adjust it. Attach it. And I'm a fan of the fishtail attachment. Smooth it out there. Have a little dimple at the base. I mean, people probably aren't going to see it, but if they do, or they'll see it, but they might not notice it. There we go. Just smooth the connection joint there. And sometimes I'll even take my chopstick and I'll roll that out so it's a real solid joint. If your handle is wet and your teapot is dry, it helps to compress it on like this to help it to stop from cracking. So yeah, and then we'll just smooth it out. Smooth this top joint. And now what I'll do when I put the lid on, or when I trim the lid, I'll put a little knob on the lid too, right here, so that when you pour, you can hold the lid on, because it will need support since we didn't do a locking lid. We did an inner gallery, outer gallery, but the lid can still pop off when you're pouring, just not as easily. So give people options. I like those. Alright. That's about it. So there's the teapot itself with the handle and the spout. And then we will trim the lid tomorrow, since it's having troubles drying out tonight. so you can trim it after it. None of the parts will touch the wheel. Alright, it's finally time to trim the teapot and the lid, so we'll go ahead and start doing that. It's the next day. It wasn't quite warm enough yesterday to get everything dried up, but we'll finish it up now. So we'll do the lid first. Just gonna trim it up. I'm gonna put a handle on it. Got room for that. So when you're centering something to trim, just kind of, you can do tap centering, or you can do it however you typically do. I usually tap center just because it's quick and easy. I'm not using porcelain, so I can't go without wads of clay holding it down, but wads are quick and easy to make and easy to put down, so just get it centered and then put your wads of clay down. You don't want to push too hard on it because you've got that thin inner gallery, the flange that's sticking out of the bottom. Let's see. I'm going to start with the normal pair tool here. Just going to, you know, it's got some clay on it. That doesn't help. So it's just bulk trimming this top down. I'm going to put a handle on it, so don't need all this stuff from when we threw it. And I'm providing pressure with my finger here, supporting it with my other fingers, and just trimming off the bulk. I'm going for a nice bulbous kind of hemisphere. And then we'll deal with the lid here, the handle. Bulk trim all this stuff off. It's pretty good thickness, so work on this handle. Now we need to undercut this so that your fingers have a place to grip. I'll just use my triangle trim tool for that. And since this knob is solid, just to avoid having it blow up on me, I like to, and it looks nice too, just hollow it out from the top. And glaze will pool in this little divot here. So just hollow this thing out. Swirl up. Alright, now I'll just smooth it out, get rid of all the trim marks. And then I usually burnish with when I'm trimming, I'll burnish with a metal rib. So it's just sliding the rib over it. Leaves a nice smooth surface. Sometimes I'll chatter the lid, but since the form itself isn't chattered at all, it has no texture at all, it might look weird, so I'm just going to leave it like that. So there's the lid. And I'll go ahead and put my name stamp on here. Actually, I'll use this one. And I just stamp the inside of the lid. Like that. Looks like I need to change the battery on one of my camcorders here, so I will do that. Alright. Now let's take care of the teapot itself. Go ahead and trim that up. Bottom on this is relatively thin, so gotta be careful. Can't tap center because it's got the handle and the nozzle hanging off of it. So I'm just it's close enough. Alright. Go ahead and get this sealed down. special here, just giving a little trim. It's pretty thin on the bottom, so I'm not going to go too crazy here. Already sounding thin. So just going to even it out here. Trim the foot in. I round the feet off so that they don't mar table surfaces, and actually I'll grind them after that too. After they're done being fired, I put them on this guy for a little bit. It's a diamond wheel, and grind them smooth. So yeah, that's about it. I think this is a finished teapot now. I'll go ahead and put the name stamp on there and call it a day. I think I'll stamp my name right in the side here. I'll use my big stamp. Yep, there we go. There we go. Alright. Let's see how it looks all put together. There it is. Just touch up this. There we go. So there it is, teapot. It's kind of a standard form. Not bad, huh? Alright. Thanks for watching.